Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Literally seconds. 1 minute, you're riding this massive, historic wave. And the next, you're just staring blankly at the frozen turf in a January elimination game, packing your locker in the dead of winter, wondering what on earth just happened, right? That kind of playoff loss, it haunts you. It changes a man. And honestly, it changes a whole franchise. Welcome to The Explainer. Because today, we aren't just looking at a football team. We're looking at a powder keg that is perfectly rigged to detonate. The 2026 Chicago Bears are standing on the edge of a cliff here. The expectations? Never been higher. The schedule? Absolutely unforgiving. And the internal pressure on this roster is about to hit a terrifying breaking point. We're going to dive into exactly how a championship roster is forged, not under the bright primetime lights, but in the brutal, suffocating heat of July.
Look closely at what head coach Ben Johnson is saying here. You've got to pay a price. You've got to make deposits if you want to have success in this league. Now, deposits, think about that word. In the NFL, a deposit isn't cash. A deposit is sweat. It's that bone-rattling fatigue when your lungs are burning and your muscles are just screaming to stop. It's pushing your physical limits until the tank is completely empty, and then your coach tells you to line up and do it all over again against a 300-pound guy who literally wants to rip your head off. Johnson's been around this league for 15 years, and he's issuing a stark warning to his locker room right now. No shortcuts. You can't cheat the game. If you want to survive the 2026 season, you've got to pay the toll first.
And hey, speaking of making deposits, we'd love for you to make a quick one right now to support the deep dive analysis we do. Welcome to NFL Nexus. If you want to really understand the blood, the sweat, and the intricate chess matches that define the NFL, you're in the exact right place. Hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a like on this explainer. Drop a comment below with your thoughts as we go. And please, consider becoming a channel member. It's what lets us keep bringing you these premium, documentary-level breakdowns of the schemes, the hidden roster battles, and the bitter rivalries we all love. All right, let's get back to the sheer violence waiting for Chicago.
Moving right along to Section 1. No spots are safe, the 53-man war.
So whatever highlights you saw during spring minicamp, those crisp, non-contact throws going viral on social media, erase them. Just wipe them from your memory entirely. Spring was an illusion. Ben Johnson has a mandate, and this quote really sets the tone. He says, "Camp's really where we're earning a spot on the 53. There's spots up for grabs." Basically, he's saying that if some undrafted rookie, a kid fighting for his NFL life on a minimum contract, starts blowing up plays in a live, padded practice, he's getting thrown in with the starters, period. Your massive guaranteed contract or your famous last name won't save you if a practice squad linebacker drops you in the A-gap. The message is chilling. Absolutely no one's job is safe. Last year, Johnson ran this legendary full-contact practice that shocked the team but built an unbreakable foundation. Well, he's doing it again, and he's watching every single collision to see who flinches.
And nowhere is this war more violent than on the offensive line, specifically the left tackle battle. We've got Braxton Jones, Jedrick Wills, Theo Benedette, and Kieran Amagadjia. 4 massive humans fighting for one job, protecting their superstar quarterback's blind side. Remember how this went last year? It dragged on forever. Jones was fighting back from that broken ankle, struggling with his anchor. Then you had Wills, showing flashes of total dominance but constantly battling his own footwork inconsistencies. And Amagadjia? Just raw, unbridled power. The guy can bench press a truck, but he still needs to refine his hands against elite rushers. Ben Johnson absolutely hated that lack of clarity last season. He wants this settled 100% before week 1. So they're going to throw these 4 into the fire, force them to handle stunt after stunt in live contact, and see who survives the gauntlet. Now, if you want to know what that gauntlet actually feels like, just listen to Montez Sweat. This guy is a 260-pound veteran defensive end who destroys people for a living. Yet, look at his words here. "I'm expecting the worst." Let that sink in. An elite NFL edge rusher is bracing himself for his own team's training camp. He knows what's coming. Live days, hard-hitting, long drives. And in mid-August, a long drive means going 12, 14 plays with no whistle, in 90-degree heat, 90% humidity, carrying 20 pounds of pads. It's lactic acid burning your legs while the offensive coordinator runs a no-huddle tempo just to see if your spirit breaks. Sweat says he's ready, but the fact that he's publicly bracing for it, that tells you everything you need to know about the dark tunnel this team has to walk through.
So how does this nightmare actually play out? This timeline lays it all out. We ditch the light spring OTAs. We hit late July camp where the pads finally come on. Then we get to those legendary live contact days, absolute trench warfare where the weak are left behind. And it all leads up to Judgment Day. August 15th, the preseason opener against the Cleveland Browns. Johnson has circled this date in red ink. He wants the roster sorted by this game. And Cleveland isn't just a random opponent. They run one of the most exotic, heavy blitzing fronts in football. Wide 9 alignments, complex stunts, relentless pressure. For the guys fighting for a job, August 15th isn't just an exhibition. It's the final, merciless verdict on their NFL dreams.
On to Section 2. Fire meets ice. The rivalry escalates.
But here's the thing. The internal locker room war is only half the story. Because while the Bears are fighting themselves in July, a historic blood feud is boiling up north. Bears versus Packers. It's the oldest rivalry in football, but this year, the tension is on a whole new, terrifying level. Look at this matchup. On one side, Micah Parsons in Green Bay green and gold. Absolute force of nature. 12.5 sacks last year. But check the microscopic details. A 28% pass rush win rate on the edge. He recently called himself the fire to the Bears quarterback's ice. And that ice? Caleb Williams. 3,942 passing yards and 27 touchdowns in 2025. But here is the craziest stat. Williams had a 2.4-second release time under pressure. He dissects blitzes with cold, terrifying precision. So you have the ultimate destructive force against the ultimate pocket architect. It's a collision of generational talents in a rivalry where these teams genuinely despise each other.
And we already know exactly when these heavyweights are stepping into the ring. Week 5, at Lambeau. Picture it, freezing wind off the lake, 80,000 fans screaming for blood. Then again in Week 16, at Soldier Field. Imagine that brutal, bone-chilling December cold in Chicago, where the turf feels like concrete and every single hit just echoes through your entire skeleton. The bad blood is already boiling. Reporters actually asked Caleb Williams if he'd ever vote for a Packers, the league's best player, and he just gave this cold, flat, probably not. The disrespect is completely mutual, guys. When Week 5 hits, the entire NFL is going to stop and watch fire and ice finally collide.
Section 3. The toughest road and the greatest show. Which brings us to the big picture here. All this internal pressure, the Green Bay bad blood, it's all happening against the most unforgiving landscape imaginable. The Bears are facing the absolute toughest schedule in the NFL for 2026, 7 primetime games. The margin for error is basically 0. But to understand why they're under this microscope, look at this number. 7. Just let that defy logic for a second. Last year, the Bears set an NFL record with 7 comeback wins when trailing in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Think about that Monday night Detroit game. Under 40 seconds left, no timeouts, pinned at their own 12, down by 5. Caleb Williams had to go 88 yards against a prevent defense. What does he do? Lasers it up the seam for 30, dodges a blindside sack, scrambles, and throws a walk-off touchdown as the clock hits 0. 7 times they stared defeat right in the face. 7 times the fans nearly had a heart attack. It was chaotic, it was totally unsustainable, but it proved one thing for sure. This team does not break under pressure.
And that's exactly why guys like Michael Middlehurst-Schwartz from USA Today are calling them the most exciting team in football. I mean, look at the fireworks. You've got Ben Johnson's aggressive play calling perfectly syncing up with Caleb Williams' flawless execution. You've got a violent defense that forced a staggering 33 takeaways last year by baiting quarterbacks into terrible decisions. And then, the emerging stars. Tight end Colston Loveland entering year 2, he's not just running shallow routes anymore. He's using his massive frame to box out safeties in the seam. And receiver Luther Burden II, his release off the line is just deadly, turning simple slants into 60-yard foot races. It's a high-wire act, an absolute heart-stopping spectacle that you literally cannot look away from.
Finally, Section 4. Super Bowl or Bust.
Because honestly, being a great show isn't enough anymore. We have reached the ultimate truth for the 2026 Bears. It is Super Bowl or bust. Last year ended in pure agony. A soul-crushing 20-17 overtime loss to the Rams in the divisional round. They were so close they could taste it. And that hollow feeling of watching someone else's confetti fall, that's been sitting in their locker room all off-season. The time for moral victories is completely over. Which brings us to this final thought. When Caleb Williams heard Micah Parsons call himself the fire to Williams' ice, the kid didn't even flinch. He didn't back down. He just looked at the camera and delivered a quote that should send chills through the whole league. Let's see which one holds over. So, will the chaotic fire of their rivals burn this team to the ground? Or will the brutal, calculated gauntlet of training camp forge an ice-cold champion that simply cannot be broken? The price of winning has been set. Now we wait to see if the Chicago Bears are finally ready to pay it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.